But we had to get to the marketplace, and we had to compete. We had to be competitive. And I expect that we will be soon. But it's part of a process, a learning process among our people.
Well, I think this is a national problem. I think it's one of our national disgraces, the way we both nationally at the federal level and within our own states have treated our Indian brethren throughout history.
New York State has the 8th largest Native American population in the United States, 30,000 Indians with 12,000 of them still on reservations. The Seneca Nation of Indians is one of 6 tribes of the Iroquois who occupy lands here in western New York, set aside by the Treaty of Canandaigua of 1794, which established Indian reservations as sovereign land. The Seneca Nation of Indians encompasses the Allegheny Reservation at Salamanca, the Cattaraugus Reservation near Gowanda, and the Tonawanda Reservation outside Batavia. The greatest need of Indian tribes today is economic development. That need was explored in the summer of 1984 during a 5-day economic development conference in Buffalo, sponsored by the Seneca Nation of Indians and the United South and Eastern Tribes. Representatives of federal, state, and local governments, business, and finance met with tribal leaders and their people to hopefully find ways to attract business and industry.
We have a more modest $2 billion purchasing budget, and that comprises construction contracts, commodities, as well as services.
We sit in state government. Many of us are not familiar with the products that you produce. We want to be familiar. It requires you to become a market. Market your product to us. Let us know who you are.
All state contractors ultimately, in some form or fashion, will be responsible for proving to the state that indeed they are not discriminating, that indeed they are in compliance with the laws of the state of New York, so that we can begin to see whether or not the state's dollars are supporting all of the members of the family or hurting some.
Projects near or on tribal reservations, we will support tribal rights and preferences in the employment preferences in the contracts.
I'm very proud to say that our largest contract in 1983 went to a Native American firm with assistance from our program.
You've got to tell us who you are. What are you selling? How much do you want to sell us? And you got to tell us where you are and how accessible you are.
Lionel John, president of the Seneca Nation of Indians, is concerned about the economic problems facing his people.
It's quite serious from the standpoint that a survey was conducted here about 6 months ago. And at that particular time, the findings were that we had about a 48% unemployment rate. We have had some measure as far as numbers of families below poverty level, and in fact, it's again an astonishing figure, and estimates are that it's well over 50%.
How do you feel that the Economic Development Conference held in Buffalo will help?
I was very pleased with the conference and the outcome of it. I look at it as being the foundation of the economic community, and that's to encourage Indian people, individually or partners, however, to go into small business. And I think that these people want to do this, and they need to have the stepping stones, the assistance, to enable them to reach their goals and get into business.
We've been through the city of Salamanca. I don't see many Indians working in that city. Why is that?
There's probably a number of reasons for that. Sometimes it's, if it's a small business, it may be family-oriented. There probably have been experiences in the past of failures. There might be conditions sometimes of, I'm not so sure if it's discriminatory practices or whether it's just favoritisms or however, but there may be some of those situations from time to time. We do have a couple of construction type businesses established, yes, that are minority businesses. And they have been successful in getting some jobs. We've had the problem of trying to get through the barriers, but at the same time, I think it's a process where the Indian people for a long time were somewhat subdued, and there wasn't the aggressiveness to go out there and be competitive, to challenge, and to struggle for these opportunities that have been out there.
The process of anything in a conference is education. In order for us to survive, we're going to have to start a good, sound economic base. And that means us doing something, or us showing the people that there is something available for them.
What kind of businesses can be set up on the reservation?
We've talked about defense contracts, we talked about highway contracts and everything, and you know, all of these things into one, but I don't think anybody's really explored the full possibility of certification.
The Lieutenant Governor of New York State, Alfred Del Bello, visited the Seneca Indian Nation's Cattaraugus Reservation to discuss economic development issues and offer the services of the state to help meet their needs. He announced the approval of a grant of $18,000 from the State Office of Parks and Recreation for the development of the Lake Erie beachfront property owned by the Senecas. The monies will be spent for beach development, recreation improvements, and help to create jobs.
They want the opportunity to be able to develop their own businesses, get their own jobs, develop their own investments, be able to borrow money and lend money and get into the financial world, just like everybody else does. All we have to do is assure that those doors are open for them, and that if we have a program that is suited to the bringing in of business or the development of business or expanding of business, that program is available to them to use, just like the fella in downtown Buffalo would use it or the woman in Rochester would use it. And that's the system. No handouts. They're not looking for gifts. They're looking for opportunity, and that's what we have to provide.
You see a light at the end of that tunnel?
I don't know if I see too big a light yet, but I know it's there. I know it's there, and I think that one of these days we will be at least getting our fair share of the jobs.